We're going to, so I think Freda's going to do an introduction of about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to have a cooking, which would be about 15 minutes or so. The whole session should take about 45 minutes or something like that. But I don't know how strapped you are for time. I'm fine for time. So any questions, anyone? Then I will hand over to the one and only Freda. And thank you so much for doing this for us, Freda. This is so exciting.
You're welcome. You're most welcome. 1 second. Let me just give myself some light so you can see me. I'll turn this off for a second. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. This is my first online workshop. Ooh, okay, there we go. You see me? Yeah. My first online workshop. Okay, is the sound good?
Yeah, yes, absolutely fine. Everyone happy with the sound? Yeah.
And nothing annoying. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a brief introduction on Redred. And just so you know what it is, it's a bean stew that is pretty popular in Ghana. Oh, okay. All right. I was going to share my screen, but maybe the host has a slide, but that doesn't matter too much. Yes, so where was I? Redred is a bean stew in Ghana. How I like to make it at home is by using standard West African ingredients. And by that, I mean onions, tomatoes, palm oil, and not being controversial, this is just the palm fruit oil that we can squeeze from the fruit, and it's red in color. It's a brilliant color. And yeah, ginger, garlic if you like, but that gives the anatomy of the stews that we make, and I can say a bit more about that. But at home, I make Redred that way. I make a tomato-based stew in palm oil, and then I put in some black-eyed peas. I remember in my London days, I only ever used canned beans, which is very convenient because I was a bit younger then, and I could never dream of having the time to soak beans. It was just not a thing for me. And so in today's class, I'm going to make Redred with canned beans, but feel free to make them with whole beans. It's always lovely when you make them with something that hasn't come out of a can. What sort of beans do you use? Most recipes will call for black-eyed peas. However, on the continent, we have different varieties of black-eyed peas, and we normally refer to them as cowpeas or something else in several different languages. And
a black-eyed pea is different from black-eyed beans, because I've encountered black-eyed beans, but not black-eyed peas. So they're the same thing.
I believe they're the same thing, and I have some that I can show you.
And the other question I was going to say, you're saying this is a dish from Ghana. Is it particular to Ghana, or is it also in Nigeria, or is it right across West Africa?
So there are different variations of this dish across West Africa, but the Ghanaians seem to be the only ones who call it Redred. There is a local name for it, depending on what language you speak, and I can't remember any of them.
Julia's just telling us that they call them black-eyed peas in the US as well, but
yes,
she thinks they're the same thing.
Yes, they're the same thing. And in fact, I have managed to collect a few. Give me a second. Oh, yes. Here, and here. Because what I've discovered is that in every country has its favorite. So let me see if I can turn on my other camera so I can show you very, very appropriately. Can everybody see me? Because Orlando, all I can see is you.
Oh, you don't want that. But yes, I think everyone can. Yes, I'd be getting complaints if yeah, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let me just use the main camera. But I will try and switch on the other one for anybody who can see. So black-eyed peas. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, these are black-eyed peas. You can see the dark section of it, and I think that's where the name comes from. But collectively, this comes from a family of beans called cowpeas, I believe. And in Nigeria, they have a variety of them. These they just call brown beans.
Yeah, but they haven't got a black eye, have they, those ones?
No. But so yeah, so these, I think they're all from the family of cowpeas. I think they call them that collectively. In fact, when I first moved here and I was looking for these, many of my Yoruba friends didn't even know what they were. So this is what you find in the market.
When you say Yoruba, that is
Yeah.
that's a Nigerian, a section of Nigerian society, isn't it?
So yes, so this is one tribe, a fairly dominant tribe in Nigeria, and I think it's important to say that there's so many different cultures here. I think over 250 languages. They all have their own regional foods, regional dishes. They, you know, and they all have different names for the food. So sometimes I may, for instance, on the next set of beans, let me show you. I'm going to show them to you together so that you can see the difference. But these are the brown beans, and these are honey beans. They call them honey beans, and in Yoruba, these are called agoyin beans. Yes, agoyin beans, because they use them to make this mashed bean dish. And there is a preference for the honey beans because apparently they're slightly sweet. So they're slightly sweeter than the black-eyed peas. They're softer. They're so much easier to handle. I managed to peel the beans with one hand last night in 2 minutes. I can't do that with black-eyed peas. It takes a really long time, and I don't recommend it as an activity to anyone. But yes, so that is a little short introduction on the beans, but why don't I jump onto the cooking? Does that sound okay? Or can I say a little bit more about perhaps what we can make with these things? Or
as you wish. I think we're all fascinated by the beans that you can get there. And are there like dozens of different beans that you can get in
there's
market?
even more. Yeah, there's more. There's one very old type of beans. So these are Bambara beans. They're round, and sometimes they're referred to as Bambara round nuts. So these, and look, I've still got a little bit of the shell. Can you see that? These are like earth peas. They grow like peanuts, and they were largely displaced when peanuts got introduced to the continent. But, and they have a very deep nutty flavor. They also take hours and hours and hours to cook, but they are very nutritious. So this is a whole bunch of beans, a whole bunch of beans. I set up a little market for you guys in the background. I don't know if you can see, but why don't I pop you over so you can have a look at what we're going to do today. So when I get into cooking, yeah, we're going to go through very standard. It's like making a pasta dish, you know, onions, tomatoes, garlic, ginger. The only difference is the palm oil that we use. See how red that is. And then another component of Redred is gari. Let me explain what gari is. Gari. It is a toasted, fermented cassava flakes in a nutshell. So yeah, when you eat this, it has a sour taste because of the fermentation. And you do find this in Brazil as well. I think
is that manioc? Do they call it manioc in Brazil?
Manioc. It's from manioc, and I think
is that a thickener, Freda? Will you be using that as a thickener? Because manioc is usually used to thicken.
Do you know what? I don't actually think of it as a thickener. When we make it at home, we normally just sprinkle it on top of the beans. Oh. But I have observed when it's sold in the streets, so the home variation, the one I make at home is different from in the streets. The beans are cooked very soft. They're almost like a porridge. And it's just boiled beans seasoned with salt. And then they fry onions in palm oil. So when you go to the market woman, she usually takes a banana leaf. I hope we have time. I'll show you in the end what it looks like. Yeah, that could be interesting. But she scoops the beans, puts in a whole lot of palm oil onions. Like the oil is used, it's not even used to fry, it's just used as a drizzle, pours that all over on top, and then puts a generous amount of gari, and then mixes it. And as she mixes it, it looks like a porridge. So it could be that it's a thickener, but I can't say that we use it as a thickener at home. We usually use it as a side dish. We can use it as a snack with peanuts and milk. So as a little a porridge that we don't cook, we just add milk and peanuts and a bit of sugar and we eat it like that. Or as a side dish, we put in hot water and mix it like polenta, and that's it. Don't have to do anything further.
I've got a couple of questions coming in from our audience. One is, you mentioned skinning beans. Is that taking off the husk or taking off the little thin skin that's around them? Do you mean the husk?
Just the thin skin. Let me show you peeled or skinned beans. I've got some here.
So you've slid the skins off them, having cooked them?
No. Okay, so that we don't get confused, this is for this. The peeled beans is for something else. For the stew, we just cook them. I would soak them as you saw them. I would soak them, boil them, and then use them in the stew.
You don't need to skin them for that.
You don't need to skin them at all. But since we're talking about it, let me show you. For something like, and this is how you can see the transformative power of using beans. For something like in Nigeria, they've got this thing called moin moin or lele, which is, I would say it's a savory pudding. So it's essential to skin the beans so that you can get a very, very smooth paste. You do this whilst they're raw. You get a very, very smooth paste. And then you grind the beans with onions, peppers, and in Nigeria, they really love these paprika-like capsicums. They look like red capsicums, but they are hot when you taste them. They are quite hot. So they love using that for the color. But let's see if, I made some earlier. I put a bit of egg inside. You don't have to.
Right.
Let's see what happens if moment of truth. I need to try and take that out so you can actually see. Just give me 1 second. Get a knife.
And Bruce has a question while we're on the bean subject. How long would you soak the beans for?
Okay, so I found that it varies, but the black-eyed peas, the ones you'll find in the UK, soak them, because I don't find them easy to cook. Soak them for a couple of hours and then boil them for about 45 minutes.
Right, okay. So it doesn't, not 24 hours or overnight.
No, I mean, you can soak the beans overnight. I do that. You know, I remember my London days, life was busy. I did not really want to look at beans and look at them as a big job. But yeah, you can soak them overnight and then boil them. I know the last time I boiled beans, it took about 45 minutes. The black-eyed peas, they seem to remain quite firm, quite firm. But I found with the other beans, I was quite surprised when I moved to Nigeria, the brown beans and the honey beans, people don't even soak them. They just boil them and they're soft in 20 to 30 minutes. Really, there's a difference there. But for black-eyed peas, which is what is widely available in the UK, I would say about 45 minutes. And
Okay.
then just give it a check. You can always check. But here's the moi moi. Let me show you. I managed to get it out. Let me cut it. It's a pudding. It really just looks like a pudding, but look at that.
Fantastic. And for that, you did skin the peas or beans to get it super smooth like that, to get it that kind of smooth paste.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
It was absolutely necessary. And then, so that's the moi moi. Another bean dish that you would skin the peas for, the beans or the peas, let's say beans, is akara, which is, you'd essentially make the same paste as you did with the moi moi, and then deep fry it. So it looks like a donut.
Oh, right.
But this is savory. It's not sweet. This is savory. It looks just like a donut. Let me break it open. It's really soft inside. And before I had these, I did not know that beans could be so amazing and such a fun thing to use. But yes.
Rosemary's just got a question, which is, do you think that the cooking time of the beans might be dependent on how fresh the beans are, or is it more down to the type of beans they are?
You know, I think it has to do with the freshness.
Okay.
I do think it has to do with the freshness, but I'm not too much of an expert in that regard. You know, there's so many different types of beans, and I did wonder whether sometimes beans are treated here so that they can cook faster, but I haven't gone into that level of research yet, but it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Could you give me just 1 second? Because as I am on Zoom, somebody else at home is supposed to be on Zoom, and it's a little person. And the teacher keeps calling me. I somehow forgot about her. Just bear with me.
That's absolutely fine, Freda. It's fascinating to have a slice of life with Freda, isn't it? If anyone wants to say anything, by all means, unmute yourselves. Hello, Janie. I'm sorry that I didn't notice you were knocking at the door. Many apologies.
I accept your apology, thank you.
But Rosemary saved the day and pointed this out to me. So,
Well,
you'd still be there now if it weren't for Rosemary.
Well, I was WhatsApping her saying, was I the only one having a technical hitch? But that's fine. Nice
Your
to see.
technical hitch was me, I'm afraid. I've been keeping up with everyone's questions. So if you're happy, do by all means keep the questions coming in chat, or save them to the end if you wish to, whatever you think. Okay, Barbara says, would it be great to have the names of the dishes that Freda has made? Yes, the 2 dishes that she's made. I'm finding that every dish that Freda makes has lots of different names depending on which language she wishes to glide into. But I will ask Freda that question when she's back and composed herself. Is everything calm on the family front now, Freda?
Yes, now I just have the grueling task of sending the right Zoom link to
Oh,
the story of my life right now.
that's absolutely fine. We've got a couple of questions for you when you get back. Yes, Rosemary, Freda is in Nigeria. Maybe I should have said that at the beginning. Sorry.
Yes, you know, I should have said that too, honestly. I should have even introduced myself.
No, that was my job, Freda.
Yeah.
Your other camera has gone off, Freda, for a minute, but that doesn't matter. That's because you're probably dealing with the other Zoom issue, aren't you?
Yes, I am trying to forward something.
That's fine.
Yes, but
Orlando, sorry, do we need to get the slides up for Freda?
Yes.
Would now be a good time?
Yeah, I'm not sure how I can do that. I think that is that.
So what you can do, Freda and I did a test. So what we can do is, if Freda has the slides available when we get back into the session, then as you are the host, you need to transfer the host to Freda to allow her to show the slides.
Okay.
So if you look in the participants column, you'll see Freda, and if you click on, I think, the blue button to the right of her name, you can, is it assign host, I want to say? You can hand it over to her, make host, and then Freda can share her slides. And then you can take it back at any point, because if anyone needs admitting, you need to take it back. There we are, Freda's the host now. So we can have a look at those slides.
Charlotte, you really know your way around this world, don't you?
Done a few of them now. It's all new. It was all new to me a couple of months ago.
Well, that's very expert, because I think that Freda actually tried to show her slide earlier, but maybe because I hadn't hosted her and turned her into a host, maybe that didn't work.
Yeah.
So I think it should now be. Oh, we've got Freda.
Lovely.
okay, I think we are back up. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
The story of my life.
You have many people depending on you, Freda. All
Oh
around
my
the world.
goodness.
Everyone hanging on Freda's every move.
Quite something, quite something. But without further ado, because I've got the gift of the gab, I can keep talking, but why don't let me start cooking and then we can continue talking. How does that sound?
Can you talk and cook at the same time?
I can talk and cook at the same time.
Excellent.
Okay, so I pre-prepped a few things, but just so that we could enjoy the process together, I'll chop the onions. Yeah, so where were we? I think I was still talking about the wonderful things we could make with beans.
The wonders of peas and beans. And one of our participants would like you at some point just to remind us what the two dishes, the donut and the dessert, were called. Because there are lots of names. Everything seems to have lots of names, Freda.
There's so many languages, and everyone has the same dish in their language. It's pretty amazing. But the pudding, what I described as the pudding, it's a savory pudding, so it's not a dessert, but I called it a pudding because it's a steamed, it's just the steamed bean paste, and it's hard otherwise. I'm not sure how else to describe it, but that is moin moin.
Moin moin.
That's M-O-I-N. Some people spell it without the N's, but it's moin moin. And that is a Nigerian dish. When is it eaten? Well, I have observed it being eaten for breakfast, alongside porridge, or as a side dish, at weddings alongside jollof. You know, jollof is a very, very well loved rice dish, and it's a festive dish. So you'll see that at special occasions. So if it's a Nigerian gathering, you are probably 85% likely to find moin moin served alongside jollof rice. And in fact, I think the first time I tasted moin moin, it was at a party. And the fried version, which is akara, that is a breakfast dish.
Freda, is that a red onion that you're chopping? I can't. It's just put out of sight. Yes, a red onion. Are you slicing it or chopping it? I can't quite see what you're doing.
I'm slicing it. I like slicing, so
good.
I'm slicing it. There we are.
Fantastic.
I'm slicing the onion. I was going to explain. I rehearsed this myself, and I did explain it, but I didn't remember now. But it doesn't have to be red onions. The reason why I'm using red onions is because this is what's available everywhere, and it's affordable. It's in all the open air markets. It's in the supermarkets. You can use brown onions, but brown onions here are imported, and they're very expensive. So any type of onion will do. Red onion is just what we use here because it's widely available and it's affordable. And at the end of the day, any bean dish, whether it's red or the porridge version, I don't think I talked much about the porridge version, but you can cook the beans quite softly, add some seasoning, some flavoring, and yeah, and have that as a porridge. And I've seen that as a very popular breakfast as well. You know, breakfast is either a fermented grain porridge like millet porridge or corn porridge served alongside akara or moin moin, or it could be just beans porridge and a boiled egg. That's what people have a lot for breakfast. It's very interesting. But, I've just turned on the frying pan, and I'm going to get ahead of myself and chop some tomatoes. Yes. So
if you made this for breakfast, you would make it the night before. You wouldn't, or wouldn't you?
Ooh, that's a good question. If you make this for breakfast, and by this, do you mean the red?
Well, the red or the moi moi or the other items. Would you make them in advance?
Red, I don't see why not. But in the market, people are very particular about beans. People don't like eating beans that have sat for a while because of the effect it can have on your stomach. But I'm chopping tomatoes now. I don't have special chopping skills, so I'm just dicing them. That's all I'm doing. Yeah, so you can. So at home, I would make my red, and I would enjoy it over a couple of days. There's absolutely no problem with that. But when it comes to moin moin, in fact, all of them, I've made akara, and because of the process of making the other bean products, you don't want to make it every day. You want to do it in bulk and freeze, because you can actually grind the beans raw and freeze them and then use them whenever you need them, which is a good tip. Oh, sorry, so that you can see, I've got the pan going. I've just poured some oil into the pan.
Is that palm
oil? And we're going
oil?
to start frying.
Is that palm oil?
That is palm oil, yeah. That's red
palm oil, right.
Yeah, that's red palm oil.
It is red, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very red. And I think that's where Redred gets its name from. What I'm going to do is, let's see. I'm going to switch to the other camera because you'll get to see the cooking much easier. Bear with me.
You know, there's a new version of Zoom which has an aroma app as part of it, so you can smell the cooking as well.
How do they do that?
Yeah, I made it up, Freda. But
no,
it's on the way, isn't
it?
Now, Christine's got a question about palm oil.
Yes.
What is the smoke point of palm oil? Is it an oil that burns, or is it an oil that that can be heated to a very high temperature without burning?
Could you give me an example of an oil that burns?
Well, I know that in here in the UK, if you want to heat an oil to a very high temperature, rapeseed oil is recommended, or sunflower. But I think some of the other oils tend to burn, like butter burns before you can get it really, really hot.
Okay.
So, I mean, and for deep frying, you would normally use, I suppose, peanut oil or rapeseed oil in the UK, wouldn't you? I don't know. Would Christine, you might want to microphone yourself to help us on your technical question.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got a whole chart of smoke points of different oils, and the ones that burn easiest are extra virgin olive oil, and as Jonathan says, the highest perhaps is peanut oil or groundnut oil. So I just wondered, how hot could you use palm oil?
Yeah.
Would you use shallow frying or deep frying, or?
You can use palm oil for deep frying. I've never done that, but I'll show you. But palm oil, as soon as you put it in the pan and as soon as it gets hot, you start to see some smoke coming out of it. However, people do use it for deep frying, and in Nigeria in particular, they actually in some recipes, they actually bleach the oil by heating. So they'll boil and boil the oil and it will change color. And apparently the flavor changes as well. And they use that for specific dishes, which I have not tried, but I've always thought that was fascinating. So sometimes you get people referring to bleached palm oil, but the bleaching, they mean heating for a prolonged period until it changes from deep red to a yellowish color.
That might be like clarifying butter. Maybe the you know, some parts of it fall to the bottom and they use the top part of the oil or something like that.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I've never found an explanation for it though. But okay, guys, let me get the ingredients into the pan. I'm going to do a quick run through of what they are so that we are all together. Un momento. Okay. So we're about to start. I put the palm oil in the pan. I took it off the heat because of the smoke, but I'm going to put it back on. I don't know if the camera is good enough for you to observe smoke, but I'll leave it there.
We'll take your word for it.
Yes, I've got onions. The onions here are quite small, so I use 2. And I like onions, and onions are always fantastic in dishes. So there's no hard and fast rule for that one. I've got about, well, the tomatoes here, here's my little market. Tomatoes here are quite small. So, but I would say if you took about 4 plum tomatoes, that's a good amount of tomatoes to put in. I've got tomato paste, which I'm going to use 1 tablespoon. if I use canned tomatoes, I tend to leave the tomato paste out because it's quite rich anyway. And I've got my garlic, I've got ginger.
Are they crushed? The garlic and the ginger
yes,
are crushed?
Yes,
Okay.
they're crushed.
Great.
They're crushed. Oh, and I haven't got my peppers. Let me take that out. I managed to freeze the peppers, so I've tried to just put them in the fridge to defrost without shriveling up, and I think that has worked. That has worked. So I've got Scotch bonnet peppers. Oh, that has worked beautifully. Scotch bonnet peppers. These are one of the major spices we have across West Africa. These are the peppers I talked about. They come in different shapes. They look like bell peppers, and sometimes they look like actual capsicums. But in Nigeria, people have a name for this. They call this tatashe. And whilst they look like bell peppers, when you taste them, they have a hint of heat, which I haven't experienced elsewhere. Okay, the oil is hot and smoking. It's about to get a little noisy in here, but not as noisy as I thought. All right. If you can see my other camera, it is focused on the pan. If you want to toggle through your screens and get a better view.
Let me have a look. Oh, I see. Yes, we've got the other camera going. If you click along the row of pictures at the top, there's another camera, another camera angle on Freda, which I didn't have, but it's now there. You should be able to find it.
I'm going to try and set this. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Yeah, so the idea is just to caramelize the onions. And this is another thing we love doing in Ghana and across West Africa. There are some dishes where we just caramelize onions in palm oil and then throw that all over boiled and mashed yam, or mashed potatoes. And I remember growing up, my mom used to do that on birthdays, or if it was a special day like a wedding day. You know, she was up early in the morning making these caramelized onions and putting that over mashed yam, and that one we call oto. Some people call it eto, but we call it oto, and that is a very ceremonial dish. I think it might be very specific to Ghana.
Does the palm oil have a particular flavor, Freda?
It has a very, very distinct flavor. In fact, when it comes to the flavors, oh, my lights have gone out. Did you see that? When it comes to the flavor profile of dishes in West Africa, I'd say we not only use palm oil just as an oil, but it really is essential to the flavor of many dishes. Having said that, using a different kind of oil does not take away from the dish. These days, you know, there's a lot of debate about the use of palm oil. You'll find some people using olive oil, which gives a different flavor profile, but it's really up to you.
Rosemary has observed that there's a movement in the UK towards fair trade or certified palm oil to keep the existing plantations going. Is that a consideration in Nigeria?
Well, the way palm oil is made here, and in Ghana as well, we don't go to this extent of fair trade certification, but it's definitely a market kind of product, because you'll find that people make it themselves, and then they just get water bottles, pour it in. So if you go to the market, you will find palm oil being sold in these water bottles. There is a debate about who has the best palm oil in Nigeria. The Yorubas, they say theirs is the best. The Igbos, who are in the eastern part of the country, say theirs is the best. So it's I'm not entirely sure. It depends on who the person is, but this is something that it's not highly industrialized here. Having said that, we have had a lot of companies from other countries penetrating the market, because we are very high consumers of oil, tomatoes. So there are some oils that are not palm oil, but they are dressed to look like palm oil. So we do have to be careful about where the oil comes from.
So you've given the onions about 5 minutes so far, 5 or 6 minutes, is that correct?
Yes, and it's a good time to add in, I'm gonna add in a tablespoon of tomato paste. Yeah.
Tomato paste.
And again, that I'm adding it today because I'm using fresh tomatoes. I probably could have used canned tomatoes. And when I use canned tomatoes, I tend to omit the tomato paste, because I find the canned tomatoes are quite rich and they have a sauce in there already. So
they're much darker red, aren't they? I don't know how they do that.
Yes.
The fresh tomatoes never seem to have that quite as a richer colour, do they? I'm sure that Guild member Marlena Spieler, who's the expert on canned tomatoes, could explain why.
Yes. So what I've done is I have incorporated the tomato paste into the oil, and I've allowed it to fry a little bit. Those are my mother's rules. According to my mom, you need to cook tomato paste a little bit before adding anything else, because she says if you don't, you're going to get this really acidic flavor. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that is how I was taught, so that is what I'm sticking to.
That's what I do as well, Freda. I kind of brown the tomato paste a bit, but yeah. I always add it early on and give it a good cook.
Yeah.
So we're agreeing anyway, and no one has disagreed on chat, I'm glad to say, but now of course they might all pile and disagree, but I won't tell you if they do.
Good. I'm not paying them any mind. So I'm going to leave that to cook down, and it's not going to take much time. But what I want to do now is just give you a walk through my mini marketplace, because Redred, I'm going to make the bean stew. It is almost always served with fried plantains on the side. So I've got some plantains here. I'm going to, where is my oil? Okay, it's over there. I'm going to heat up oil. I'm going to fry that up. But then I want to show you a few of the other things that make up the flavors in West Africa. So far, we have mentioned palm oil. We have mentioned onions are in everything. In fact, I think in Ghana, we are the ones who prefer to use tomatoes. In Nigeria, people make stews without tomatoes at all. But in Ghana, tomatoes are a very big thing. So the flavor comes from the oil, the onions, ginger, the Scotch bonnet pepper, and then we have a whole range of traditional spices, as in indigenous spices. And then we have other things like, we like to add smoked or dried ingredients like fish or crayfish. These are prawns. Which camera are you on? Look at this. I like this camera, very bright. But these are smoked prawns.
Smoked prawns, did you say?
Yeah, or crayfish. I think they're prawns, to be honest. We call them crayfish sometimes, but these are smoked prawns. And when you smell them, it's the same scent as what, like, if you think about anchovies or smoked mackerel, it's just something that we like to add to stews, and it adds flavor. It adds flavor. So that is one thing we do.
I want to ask you about the spices, but we'll come to those in a minute. What you mentioned the spices, but they're important. I think people would be interested to know what spices you use.
Yes. No, well, for Redred, I keep it simple. Scotch bonnet is an everyday spice for me, so
Scotch
that is.
bonnet is very hot. Isn't that super hot chili or not?
It is super hot, and different ones have different levels of heat. Sometimes I buy a batch and it's just, one is just way too much. Sometimes I buy and I use two and it's not that hot. So I don't know why that is, but in Nigeria, I mean, I have the red ones today, but they use the different color ones for different things. So yellow ones are very popular. Some people call them Nsuka pepper, and Nsuka is it's a region in Nigeria. I think it's in the east. Some people call them Cameroon pepper. Sometimes those are dried and then ground into a chili powder, also known as Cameroon pepper, but it has a distinct aroma, a very beautiful aroma. I would say it's like a perfumed pepper. It's got a very lovely aroma and a distinct flavor. And these are also used in Caribbean dishes as well.
I'd love to go around an African market with you. Could we do a follow-up tour of a market with Freda?
A follow-up?
Yeah, a follow-up session where you take us around the market and point out all the things and what they taste like and what they're for.
Oh yes, I'm sure.
A future event, but you'd need a cameraman to follow you round, wouldn't you?
I definitely would, but I can. I do that anyway, so I can work something out. It looks like my tomatoes are cooking very quickly, so I'm going to add the beans. And like I said, today I used canned beans, so I'm just going to add them.
Are they drained? Did you drain them, or did they not have much liquid in them?
Oh, I drained them, but
yeah.
sometimes I put in the water, and I can see that I could probably put the water in. But let me allow that to cook. But it's pretty much done. All it has to do is just heat up. It's quick because I use the canned beans, but it's going to stew up, and then we'll be ready to go. But let me. Can you all see me here? Which camera are you using?
Yeah.
Well, let me take you through my mini market, though. Can you see that?
Yes. Yeah.
If you go through a Lagos market, you will find things displayed like this. They'll display tomatoes in high mounds in baskets. This is a spice, this big thing.
What on earth is that?
It does not have, there's a scientific name for it, which, you know, is really long. I don't know it off the
Is it a fish or a vegetable or a...
This is a spice. This is the spice.
Spice.
A very big spice. Let me find the scientific name for it. I'll tell you. I was looking at it before. It's called well, it's one of the spices used in pepper soup, and it's the scientific name is Tetrapleura tetraptera.
we've got some experts. Someone will be Googling that. It's like you're phoning a friend. Someone here will be Googling that and come back to us on that, I'm sure. But I've never seen anything like that in my life. Would you grate it, or how would you use it?
You can you slice it you toast it and then you can grind it. You can grate it. You can just slice it up and, you know, as it's used in soup, you can put it there in chunks. I've never used it. But I understand it also has medicinal properties, but we won't get into that because we can talk all day about that. But this in Ghana, it's known as prekese. Prekese. Nigeria, they call it idan. But that's used in pepper soup. There's this interesting looking thing. It looks like nutmeg, but it's very rough on the outside. And when we opened it, it's hollow. That is a rough skinned plum, but it's used as a spice. It smells a little bit sour.
Now, would you use any of these in the Redred, or are these just, this is just in Freda's market moment?
Oh, this is just Freda's market moment. This is just Freda's market moment. Well, and what I'm showing you are pepper soup spices. You might recognize these. These are Uda pods or grains of selim.
Is that a sort of pepper?
It is a sort of pepper. And when you eat this pepper, when you eat dishes with this pepper, I tend to feel the heat at the back of my throat than on the tip of my tongue, which is quite interesting. But enough about that. What I should really be doing is frying up a plantain. So I'm going to do that right now. Oh, how long do we have?
Well, we're 5 to 12, so we need to proceed along. But I've got a question. While you're dealing with the plantain, can I ask you something which 2 people have asked me,
Yes.
which is if you're not into plantain, what else would be a common pairing for Redred?
I see this served with rice.
Rice.
You know, you can serve it with rice. I like jasmine rice. I like basmati rice. You can serve it with rice and a side of salad. I've had it with flatbread. You know, when I am having a big vegetarian day, I love having different things like, I actually mix flavors. I'll have Redred, I'll have Redred, I'll have an aubergine dip because I love aubergines. You can also have it with boiled potatoes. In Ghana, you know, you can have it with yams. So if you don't like plantains, you can have it with any other starch.
I like plantains, but some people don't. People who don't like bananas obviously aren't going to like them. Bruce asked it. I don't know whether Bruce is not keen on plantains, but anyway, you've given us lots of ideas.
Yes. So, oops, a lot.
Oh, there we
go. Okay. The Redred is simmering away. I tend to like the sauce to develop, so I do often reserve the water from the beans for that. And I don't know, do you have this thing where people don't like using the bean water, or some people like using the bean water?
Yeah, I don't know what other people think about that. I don't have any objection to using the bean water or not using it. I know that the water from chickpeas is very popular at the moment because you can use it to make vegan meringues and vegan mayonnaise. So yes. There's certainly nothing wrong with it as far as I know.
Yes. Okay, the bean stew has come along beautifully. It's almost done. I mean, I like the tomatoes to to sauce up into the stew. So I added a little bit of water, but you can see it's got a nice feel to it, almost like a curry. So this would definitely go very, very well with on top of rice. You know, you can add meat, you can add fish, but I like to give the vegans an option. So this would make a very lovely vegan dish.
Were the smoked crayfish, were they for this? Would you add them into this, Freda?
If it's an option, it's an option. I'm not going to do that today.
Would you add them at the end, or would you cook them in?
I think you'd put them in when you put the beans in, just so that the flavors can infuse into the stew.
Do people personalize this dish very much according to what they have available and what they fancy that day?
Yes, yes. I have seen people, you know, people are getting more exposed to different spices and herbs. So I've seen people put in rosemary, parsley, you know, other sorts of herbs in there. I have cooked it today with tomatoes. A lot of people, all they do is just caramelize the onions in palm oil and cook the beans really soft and then mix that together at the end. So they don't even go through this process of making a sauce. They just boil the beans and then pour the oil and onions on top and stir.
Would it be called Redred? Because it won't be very red, will it, if it's not got the tomatoes in it?
It will still be red because of the palm oil,
right.
Or perhaps
the onions and the red onions.
Yeah, vibrant orange color.
Yeah.
So you'd still get that effect. But let me season. I'm just going to season the Redred with salt today. But I love using. We don't get them much here, but I do when I'm in London. I love using the chicken stock cubes. You know, I prefer chicken stock as a seasoning. So if you don't want to use the water or plain water from the beans, you can always add chicken or vegetable stock. It would make the dish quite.
Do you not get stock cubes in Nigeria, or not the same quality?
Not the same quality. We get you know, the Maggie cube.
Yeah.
The Maggie cube has earned a name for itself. We get these little bouillon cubes that are in literal cubes, but they don't, you know, when I make a stock from I don't want to say the name, but from cubes in the UK, you tend to get a slight thickness, you know, almost like you could almost make a gravy from it, but I mean, it's not just as thin as water. There's some
there's a bit of thickener in them. But Freda, you can say the trade name. You're among friends. You can say the brand name if you wish to.
No.
Yeah, the most popular of the Knorr things is those little round oval things called stock pot, which are like jelly. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh no, I mean, I love the stock pots, and you can use those, but I was talking about the flat, the rectangular cubes.
Yeah.
And we can't, you know, Maggie has dominated the market here.
Maggie owns the continental market, I think. They certainly own France.
Yes, they have slapped Knorr out. You know, in fact, they are very dominant, but there are other seasoning cubes, bouillon cubes, but the Maggie cube has made a name for itself. Yeah. So my stew is done.
How are the plantains on? Have you got the plantains on?
Let me see. I don't. I had.
Will you be cooking those in palm oil again, or
no?
No.
No. I'm just cooking them in vegetable oil.
You don't want those red?
No, no. Some people use palm oil. I don't tend to use palm oil for deep frying. I think it's also a practical thing. Palm oil, if I get it on my clothes, I remember as a kid, if we got it on our clothes, we wouldn't get it off. So I don't like to use it for anything I don't have to. And
now, we've had a really interesting question here from Victoria, who's
oh,
watching with her 10-year-old daughter. Hello, 10-year-old daughter. And her class has been learning about Nigeria this week. And the question is, do children eat the same food as adults in Nigeria? And do your children eat Redred?
My children will eat the plantains, but my eldest would eat the red, but my younger ones still think they can eat what they want. But we are slowly working towards getting them to eat. They will eat akara because it looks like a donut, even though it's got the onions and spices in it. They eat akara, but red is I think I have to do a little bit more work on them. They eat baked beans though.
How old is your oldest, Freda?
My oldest is 10, and she eats everything I eat.
So Victoria,
Yeah,
I think Redred in your household is a definite possibility.
Yeah. No, I mean, but my kids, if you think, I introduced them to baked beans last year, and they've taken that on board, It's the usual, I will never eat that, I don't like that, and they eat it. So I think after this, I haven't put any spice in my Redred today, so I'm definitely going to give them some alongside plantain. I will get protests, but as soon as they taste it, nothing, I tell them, what do you mean? Nothing I make is horrible. I don't make yucky food. Nothing is yucky.
So are you going to add some spices to the Redred today or leave it plain?
I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it because I want my kids to try it today, so I'll leave it. But for anyone who wants to try the Scotch bonnet pepper, you can just add it in whole. Just do that as you're cooking it, and the flavor will come through without adding too much heat. I probably could have done that. Yeah, I'll do that.
If you did that, would you remove it before serving, Freda, or just stir it in? Would it dissolve?
No. I would remove it because I'm trying to reduce the heat level, but maintain the flavor that it gives. Okay, my plantains are ready. I only fried one because I wanted to be quick.
And what I'm going to do...
And my preference, honestly, Oh, sorry, what was that?
Freda, I was going to say, because we are running out of time now, I think we should ask if it's okay with you. Are you okay to take any general questions from our,
yes, I am.
our team? Is that okay? So we've been covering them as we've been going along, I hope. But if anyone has anything extra, while Freda's just finishing off her plantains, please ask away. I'm not quite sure. If you want to ask something, you need to demute yourself, but you knew that, didn't you?
Hello.
Oh, there's someone there. Oh, it's hello.
I typed it out, but I think it's gone to Freda's private address. That was very interesting. But this is just a general question. I thought Maggie and Knorr were both owned by Nestle, and they were both different brands, one for Europe and one for Britain. Does anyone know anything better?
I know that Maggie dominates the French market, but I didn't know they were the same company.
No, well, because I just always thought they were both owned by Nestle. If you kind of look at their brands, I just don't know, but that's what I had that feeling.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was just
sorry, I don't know that anyone.
Maggie is a Nestle brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
They might.
Maggie is a Nestle brand, but I don't think Knorr is. I don't think Knorr is.
Anyway.
Janie asked about the slides, because you did prepare us some slides which were pictures of things that actually you have shown us as we went along anyway. But I don't.
Yes.
Oh, what's that leaf you're walking around with? Are you going to fan yourself with that, Freda?
Yes, I was going to try and demonstrate how you would find this Redred being served in the streets in Ghana, and I did not. I did not get plenty of practice, but I'm going to have a go. So, and apparently there's a technique. There's a technique. They call them. It's not a banana leaf, but it has another. It's from another family, but sometimes banana leaves are used. So, just going to create a pocket.
Oh, look at that.
Create a pocket. Oh, I didn't do something. Apparently, when preparing it, you want to break off the stalk so that it can bend. Yeah. Never mind. So, create a pocket, fold it backwards, and you have your pocket. So I'm just going to fill that with beans. I'm going to put the gari inside.
The gari was the cassava.
Yes.
Ground cassava.
Yes. So here I'm scooping the beans inside.
I could eat that.
Mm.
Do you eat the leaf after you've eaten out of it?
No, it's more of a packaging. Yeah. Going to put the gari inside.
And just to explain once again what the gari is ground cassava flakes, did you say?
Yes, it's ground cassava flakes, and which has been fermented, then toasted.
Right.
So you don't have to cook it. It's already cooked. Although you can prepare it hot, you don't have to cook it. But when you have raw cassava, you have to cook that. So I'll just get a spoon. And my plantains. So I put the gari in, and then in the streets they tend to stir it. It's nice and hot. And then stuff a couple of ripe plantains in there. Wrap it up, and you're good to go.
Fantastic.
You can carry your breakfast along with you. You can eat it right there. But
and can you eat it out of the leaf without a knife and fork, or would you need a? You can. Oh.
You can. So many of us eat by hand, so you can do that. Yeah, I mean.
Do you eat by hand at home, or do you eat with the family?
With the family, we have those that prefer eating by hand. I prefer eating with a fork or a spoon, but my sister definitely she eats by hand. But I can eat by hand. I mean, it's hot, but you just break some off, scoop some gari, and
I bet that's tasty. Oh, this is making me feel very hungry indeed.
Yeah, those flavors, the gari is really sour. It took me to the streets of Accra.
Now
it's amazing.
I think I don't know.
Sorry, you can't taste it.
Yeah, it's a shame. Christine is saying that gari is called farofa in Brazil, used as a condiment to sprinkle on food.
Yes.
And Christine's saying that she tends to eat by hand too when no one is looking. Has anyone got any... Sorry.
I was going to say, eating by hand solves a lot of problems. I remember when I had my first baby during weaning, you know, I had a friend who had a baby the same age, and she said, my daughter won't eat from the spoon. I go, just feed her with your hands, because my daughter's taking the food from my hands. And, you know, she tried that, but it's not everyone's preference, but for me, it was a no-brainer.
Now, does anyone else have any other questions? I see that Willow has joined after her nap. Does anyone have any more questions? I've been trying to keep up, so forgive me if I have missed any questions as we went along. It was me not doing my job properly. Freda, we did miss your slides, which is a shame because you did them, but we might, if you send them to us, we can just circulate them afterwards. Do you think we can do that, Charlotte? Just send them to the participants?
Yeah, I mean, you can. There isn't much else on there, you know. I think we covered a lot.
I think you covered it. You covered it anyway, but there was a nice official greeting from you and 3 nice pictures, but there we are. Well, in that case, Freda, and you're enjoying your lunch now, aren't you? I bet have you got family or hungry?
Yeah.
Are they all banging on the door trying to get in and have something to eat?
They've all started coming back downstairs. So I have one person.
Oh, there we are. Well, on behalf of the Guild, can I thank you enormously for this long-awaited workshop, which has been fascinating, and it's lovely. It's really nice to be in your kitchen. That's better than any other venue in the whole world. So thank you for having us.
You.
And
you're welcome. I hope I was able to explain, because I know that it's okay, TJ. There is a lot of information that we went through, but if you have any questions, feel free to pop me a note.
You've opened a whole new world to us, and I'm longing for that market visit with you at some point.
I will let you know. I will let you know.
Thank you so much, Freda. That was absolutely lovely, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for coming.